Okay, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands if you have questions, and then we're going to start with people who are in the middle of serving documents, whether you're right at the beginning of your constructive notice and courtesy or conditional acceptance, or if you're somewhere along the lines with your courtesy notice, your notice of default, or all the way through to some of the new documents, including the notice of liability and the notice of violation of estoppel. We definitely always want to emphasize and give priority to people who are actively involved in applying the practices of common law in their life today.
Hi, Clint. So I work for two hospitals. I'm per diem at one and I'm full-time at another. And so I've sent all of my notices, the notice of acceptance, the liability, the fees, everything all in order as it's stated. And so I'm actually on unpaid leave at both of them because they're saying I'm not complying with the mandate. So I need to know what to do from here. I mean, is it recommended that I fill out paperwork with my county for the ex parte, or like, because, you know, I make a good income. I have 4 kids at home. My husband's self-employed. So I need to know which way I need to go with this. If you can, you know, guide me in any way.
Thank you so much. What a great first question. So first of all, someone who sent all the paperwork in, and that's absolutely essential to set yourself up for any kind of credible and effective court case that you're going to process. I'm sorry about your situation, but I'm so glad that you're the first one, because more and more people are arriving at exactly where you are, and they want to know what's next. And unfortunately, a lot of people are on leave as well. So that's kind of it's kind of a I don't know what you call it.
Caught in the middle.
He's kind of caught in the middle. It's not heaven or hell. What's the one in between? I always forget.
Catch 22.
Yeah, you're definitely set in catch 22, but you have all the power. Okay, so have you ever been to court before?
I got a ticket once. It was very nerve wracking, but no, other than that.
Right. Very good. So most people don't want to go to court. They're not familiar with court. They have spent their lives trying to avoid going to court. The idea is that court is not a good place. Nothing good can happen there. Well, yeah, maybe especially if you're defending yourself from some statutory crime, quote unquote crime. But in this case, you're going on the offensive. So it's a different story altogether. So I just want to let everyone know that my mission is to have every single person here be fully prepared and willing to go to court at any point, at any time, when anyone ever violates your rights. So we've really neglected the courtroom. And I'm putting all this as premise. I'm doing this to encourage you and call you forth again as the free people you are, with the responsibility and the duty to teach your government exactly how it's supposed to do its job. But I'm also here to tell you that we have neglected to control the courts, and to such a degree that basically the courts are run by an elite clique of lawyers and judges who pretty much run their days uneventfully according to some very complicated rules and regulations. And common law, by contrast, is not complicated. So we're going to support you in coming into your county courtroom with paperwork that establishes who you are as a free person, and that you're not going to be playing by their rules. Some of the rules and regulations that they actually have some lawful history. They do have an original purpose, but so many rules and regulations nowadays are just that. They're unnecessary rules and regulations to help the court make money, or to try to help deter the average person from going into the court, and creating a whole labyrinth that you have to pass through, so that you're intimidated and don't go there. So our training is going to give you, like, once again, the principles of what it means to be a free person going to court and standing for your rights, and going after the violators and these aggressors in your life. But you're also going to understand the point of everything you do. And the documents will help as you're learning. The documents themselves speak for themselves. You have to read them, you have to understand them, and then you can use them. And then you go into court. Now, this particular strategy is one in which you do all of your paperwork in advance, and that way, when you go to court, it's not like the TV court shows you might have seen where there's all this drama between the defendant and the plaintiff, fighting it out. In this way, you've already established the case in the paperwork. The paperwork has already had you adjudicate. So you're not asking for the judge even to make any particular ruling. You're simply moving him to order your aggressor to stop based on the fact that they are already in default and they have already accepted a contract that you put in front of them, which puts a fee schedule. Did you do $100,000 a day?
Yes, I did put the $100,000 a day, and I have gotten a reply back from my full-time job stating something about my conditional acceptance, but it was a phone call, and so I didn't know how to reply to her, because obviously it has to be like an affidavit form or whatnot. But yes, I did do the $100,000 a day.
Very good. So at this point, we do what's called an ex parte hearing. So some of you have heard this before, but maybe you're on the verge of filing your court papers. So ex parte hearing simply means one party. So there is a remedy for you as an individual. You might be familiar with ex parte hearing, not by the name of it, but they're actually very commonplace when it comes to collecting debts. So if you have ever seen a debt collector send letter after letter notifying you of your duty to pay, and some people are in denial and they throw those into the wastebasket. Well, next thing you know, you get a lien, or you get money pulled out of your bank, or your paycheck gets garnished, and you wonder what happened. That's because that loan company or that creditor went to the court, showed all the paperwork, how you didn't respond, and motioned the court to make a summary judgment and order you to pay. But another thing you might be familiar with is what was just simply called, no offense to dads or to the men out there, but deadbeat dads, right? So imagine a deadbeat dad, and there's a custody of a child is up in question, and the mother tries to reach out to the father over and over again, through mail or writing or phoning, and she records all of this and keeps track of all the times she attempted, and there's just no response. It's like he's absent, like he's gone. And so that mother can go in the courtroom with an ex parte hearing, and the judge can order exclusive custody to the mother. And the other party is just not present.
I did look at the ex parte paperwork, and it does seem to do a lot with like custody battles, like custody issue. I mean, looking at the paperwork, because I downloaded it so that I had it, available. So
yes, good. This is fantastic, because when you go to, I'm glad, it's great. This is wonderful, Rachel, because I don't feel like I have to catch people up. Like, you're right where you need to be. And everyone who's here, I just want to acknowledge you for being here. Of all the things that you're facing right now, and all of the pressure and uncertainty and worry that you're experiencing, financial worry, just career stability, just all the stressors that you're facing because you absolutely will not take this vaccine. You're in the right place tonight. This is the best way to be spending your time. I ask you all to just take a breath and know that it's coming quickly. We don't have the paperwork for you yet. I wish I could say it's right here, it's available, it's all packaged and ready for you to go, but literally in the next week, we're going to have a package for you. We're going to have trainings for you. So pay attention. I'm sorry, I don't even have a date for you, because I want to be able to send you all an email saying, okay, we're going to have this training. We're going to show you all the documents, walk you through them, and let you know what you need to do. I want to do that as soon as we can, but I don't know when that's going to be.
Okay.
So I wish I could just put a date out there and know that that's going to happen. But in the meantime, it'll happen relatively quickly. What I'm doing right now is I'm creating the context and getting you all prepared sort of psychologically for what you are about to face. Okay. So when you looked on the website, like a lot of counties, if you go look at ex parte hearing, it's going to be, you have like 4 choices. You have to check a box. Is this a family court case? Is this a blah, blah, blah? Because the way that they've done with the rules and regulations is they put everything into nice little neat, tidy categories. And guess what? They don't have a category for employers trying to, force their employees to take an experimental genetic therapy. So it's not one of their categories. And the person that you're going to get very familiar with at your county courthouse is called the clerk. The
Okay.
clerk is there is a clerk. There is one person who's the clerk, but it's an entire office of people who are clerks, and they all have the same job, and that is to make sure. Well, for them, they think that their job is to make sure that all the rules and regulations are being followed to a T. All the forms are filled out, and you have to pay this fee and all these sorts of things. We don't acknowledge their rules and regulations in the same way. So indeed, as I was saying, it's not that we're disrespectful or we're not here to tear down the rules and regulations that they have. They exist for those people who volunteer to be part of that statutory system. That's what they exist for. And because 90% plus of we the people believe that we're subject to those rules and regulations. If they walk into a courtroom and talk to the clerk, they go, okay, what do I have to do? Once again, what do I have to do? But our documentation is going to fulfill the minimal lawful requirements for an ex parte hearing and establish you as a free person in a common law court. The judge understands what this means. The clerk may not. This might be like speaking Chinese to the clerk because they've never had anyone come to them this way. So I'm preparing you to have to be able to educate your clerk, even your court, and ultimately your judge if necessary, in order to establish the conditions for justice to be served in the courtroom where you will be getting justice. If you try to go in and win, and this according to statutory rules, not likely. In fact, it's pretty much 100% chance that you will lose because first, maybe on some procedural ground, some form you didn't fill out properly. And they're going to tell you, see, I told you should get a lawyer because this stuff's complicated. If you had gotten a lawyer, I wouldn't have to be standing here telling you, wasting my time and your time in this courtroom that you just didn't check that one tick box. And now I got to throw it out. So we're not going to be dealing with all of their procedures, but we are going to have all the lawful documents required to establish a court of justice for you to do an ex parte hearing and motion your judge to order your aggressor to cease and desist and pay damages. So it's going to be a big deal for you, each and every one of you, to not only, you're not just getting justice for yourself, but you have to reform the courtroom in the first place. All right. When you hear about going to court and what all of this might mean, every court is different. Every county is different. So I don't know. I live in San Francisco County, and it's the worst you can imagine. We know that the clerk is going to do a whole number of things, from playing dumb to being bossy to trying to get you to hire a lawyer, to mislead you and say, oh, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And then even if you to do those things, and there's more things on top of that to do. So you don't know what you're going to encounter, but you need to be prepared for the worst. And then I will also recommend, for those of you who really are taking up my challenge and you really once and for all want to know yourself as someone capable of going into a courtroom without a lawyer and winning, there is a course that I have vetted and I am highly recommending. It's called How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer. It's basically a very extensive course that will train you in both going on the offensive and then also defending yourself if you ever need to. And all without the need for a lawyer. The course was developed by Dr. Frederick Graves, who is a reformed lawyer himself. He actually went to law school in midlife because he was really interested in making the law more available to people. So this course that he's produced is actually developed from a vision for us from many, many years ago. And we are also very fortunate that he has developed this over many years. And it's when you get it, you'll see it. It's highly matured. It's very, very well developed, having been improved over the years, over the many years that he's been working on it. And it's simple. It's actually very simple and very accessible. He boils down a lot of these concepts and terms to very simple terms. So you don't have to get a law degree. You can simply take this course. Go ahead and sign up today and get started with it. You can go straight to the parts where when you're suing, you're going on the offensive, what you need to do in terms of the various paperwork. Again, this paperwork don't think about it as forms to fill out. again, this paradigm of rule followers that I told you, we've all become rule followers. The corollary to that is we're all form filler outers. And so we always think, well, there's a form for everything. And if I just fill out the form properly, then I'll get what I want. This is not the case here. This is not what we're talking about. So you're going to read and learn the basics of what it takes to prosecute a case against your aggressors. And it's simple, but you need to understand the basics. You need to understand what the basics are. So stick with us, and we'll be providing template documents specifically for people fighting vaccine mandates by your employer or your school. To really prepare yourself, I recommend that you do take this course, and then you'll be familiar with so many of the terms. And then again, it's more of a long-term goal that I ask every one of you to take on, and that is to become your own advocate. At the drop of a hat, if something should ever happen to you again after this, even where somebody violates your rights, you don't have to think twice. You know exactly what to do and where to go. That's what my long-term vision for you all is, and that's why this course is important. It was wonderful to hear that where you're at. Unfortunately, you are on leave. That's about the kind of that's an intimidation factor that they haven't fired you yet. Are you ready to take on whatever happens in that courtroom?
Yeah, definitely. I had a question that I'm wondering if maybe other people have. If for some reason I do sign a religious exemption, or I'm not taking the vaccine, but if I do end up having to go back to work and I have to test, which I don't want to do, and that's the reason that I'm on suspension, does that null and void everything that I've done?
Well, can I ask you, because clearly you've been paying attention, what do you think?
I'm confused. That's why I asked. But that's my concern, is that okay, now I'm succumbing to, so probably yes, because now I've subjected myself to their permission and I'm following what they want. So then it's all for naught.
Yeah, so there's two paths you may go by in the long run. To live a free life with we the people, the same we the people that are named as the we the people that in the preamble of the Constitution. Or you can volunteer to be in a society of people who follow the statutes and the rules and the regulations. Now, medical and religious and other exemptions are an animal of the statutory world. They are indeed exemptions. They are prescribed in the statutory law. That's the only reason your employers are offering them, is because their lawyers have told them that you have to make some accommodation according to the statutory law. It's like tipping your hat to people's rights. But if you think about it, because they're saying, okay, if you fill out all these forms and you get your doctor or your pastor to attest to your sincerity, blah blah blah, then we'll consider it. I mean, there's no guarantee. And if you want to think even more, how should I say, conspiratorial, you'll realize that these exemptions are actually a really great technique for the powers to be to get their rules, have a wider adoption of their rules and regulations, because they know that some great percentage of people, like in this case, because of all the propaganda, will take it voluntarily. But some other people will say, wait a minute, my biological reality doesn't allow me to take that risk, or my religious reality doesn't allow me to accept that either. And so they know that there are these people out there that might not just go along right away. So they offer this as if there's an exemption available for you. The truth is, most exemptions evaporate.
Right.
And further, the doctors and the pastors who sign on to these things get targeted. So religious and medical exemptions imply, if it's not completely obvious, that you volunteer to be regulated by the statutes pertaining to vaccination of the population under a health emergency. So you might get your exemption for a while. They're so bold-faced. I've heard stories many times of people telling me that their employer will say something like, all right, you can apply for an exemption, but I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a limited number of them.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you right there?
Yeah, that they're not going to honor everybody.
Exactly. It's a bait and switch. And it tells you that the content of your application, which you put so much earnest energy into trying to be as sincere as ever possible, doesn't matter one little bit, because they're just dealing with quotas.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
It's your choice. Everyone here tonight, listen to me very well. We are not lawyers. We do not give advice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We are educators. We're here to encourage you by reminding you of who you are and the power that you have. And then to empower you with some tools and some structures and some principles and practices to help you get going. That's what we're here for. But what we cannot do is choose for you. And so thanks for letting me put the question right back onto you, because in the end, it's a question of conscience.
Right.
To answer even more fully, I will say that many people have filled out religious and medical exemptions. They've applied for those. Maybe some have received them, whether fully or even conditionally. Okay, you get a religious exemption, but you have to be sequestered in an office 3 miles away from the rest of the people, or you have to stay at home, or you have to, so these religious exemptions or medical exemptions aren't exactly carte blanche either. But anyway, so I suppose many people are here in that predicament. And I want you all to know that if you can honorably attest in truth on an affidavit that when you applied for that religious or medical exemption, you did not understand the implications, that you were not given full disclosure, that the other party, in fact, withheld from you the true nature of the contract, then you are completely in full rights, honorably able to revoke those contracts. And that's why we have the Affidavit of Truth as the first document of every one of the medical freedom packages. It sits there, it's a template, and one of the many uses that people are using it for are just this. So if you have applied for and or received an exemption, and you want to continue with the common law process and be the one to advocate for yourself and ultimately end up in court prosecuting your aggressors, then you are suggested to use this Affidavit of Truth and send it to the person to whom you have contracted. You have an implicit contract with them that they can have a say over your vaccination. You can use this affidavit to revoke that.
Okay.
So put that into your calculus as you're deciding. And again, it's up to you all to have to choose your life path. And I'm not here to judge that either, by the way. That's not. I know it might sound like I'm a purist and I want everyone to be puritanically common law every day, all day long. That's not my job. I definitely am an advocate for common law, and I definitely want to have people give it as much consideration as anything else and really understand what it means for you in your life as you're making your choices. But in the end, I will accept and honor whatever choice you make.
All right. Well, this has definitely opened my eyes, and I've definitely watched some more videos on common law and like getting myself, versed in that. So I appreciate all that you've done. Thank you, Clint.
You're welcome. And I do invite everyone to continue your education voluntarily. Go look online, search common law. Go look at what an ex parte hearing is. Search your county court website and just get familiar with it. Where is the court? Have you ever been to the courthouse? Just do a field trip to the courthouse. Many courtrooms are online nowadays on Zoom. Watch some ex parte hearings. Notice how the judge behaves. Notice how the people in the court behave. And then ask yourself, is that how you want to behave as a free person? You remember, the judges in these courtrooms are part of the government. And remember the order of authority, government is beneath we the people. So that includes the judge, regardless of the architecture of the room where he sits up on this high pedestal with all this pomp and circumstances in a black robe for some reason. Like, why do we need to? Even in England, they wear white wigs.
Right.
So, despite all of the impression that they give you that they are the absolute authority, and you're appealing to them for their great wisdom to know what to do best for you, and that you'll accept their judgment no matter what. We must dismiss that from our minds. Okay, judges are human beings. These judges are not who they portray themselves to be. In the mythology of our society, they are not in charge. So thanks. Stay in touch. I'm so glad you came tonight, and so glad you raised your hand and asked your question. Really.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.